Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. Hope everybody is moving along and having a good day. That's always my hope. That's always my desire for everyone. Uh, I don't know if you tuned in to yesterday's segment I did as far as addressing the Black community, but it was focused on identity. I've been traveling through my 19th book, and I do this, I revisit my work because there's so much research that goes into writing a book of this magnitude and the things that it addresses. This is my 19th book, and I've written on so many topics: absentee fatherhood, the importance of marriage, uh, state of mentality, so many different things. The miseducation of Black youth in America was my 16th book. This book is a collective bringing together of all of the things I've studied over the last 30 years and the findings and the solutions. And it's so much in here. And on yesterday, I started to talk about one of the chapters, identity crisis, in this book. And I'm sort of continuing it, but I'm using a current state of events that we tend to get ourselves caught up into to sort of make a point, and I hope I do a good job of that. Before I do, I want to remind everybody that we are in the midst of a fundraiser. If you believe in the work we do as a research institution, as a think tank, as a resource to the community with Black Men Lead and so many other programs and mental health programs, all the things that we do, if you believe in the work we do, and what I've been representing on social media for over 12 years now. Show some love, show some support. I'm going to move into this identity crisis. There's an ongoing dispute that has become public between 50 Cent and his son, Marquise Jackson, who I believe is 26 years old now, 25, 26, somewhere up in that area. And the complaint that Marquise has had is that $6,700 a month isn't enough to live off of. There are all different types of opinions floating around about a lot of different things that reflect how we are programmed, how we are socialized, where we were programmed and socialized, and how we think. And it ranges. It ranges based on a lot of us, how we were reared, what we look at. Some of it is based on our own personal experiences with the system, our own personal experience with past mates and children. And so everybody's got an idea. But I want to point to this. What seems to be an exaggerated image of something is actually a microcosm. It's the reverse. What looks big, it's big because we give so much gravity and we give so much attention and we give so much weight to celebrity. The idea of being famous qualifies people for things that they're not prepared to represent. Being famous or finding a way to become famous, finding a way to become wealthy does not necessarily qualify you to be a role model in any particular area. It simply meant that you put in work and did something, or you just happen to be in the right place at the right time. Everybody's famous for different reasons, and none of those reasons qualify them for some of the things that we expect and demand from them. That's the first thing that we must understand, is that we're demanding things from people who simply may not be qualified or have the necessary resources to be that. We're expecting broken people to behave as if they're whole, as if everything is okay with them because they've obtained a certain level of wealth, a certain level of exposure. And that's not the case. Very rarely is it the case. I mean, you find some people who on the surface seem to be doing okay, and you still don't know what's going on behind the scenes because you're only getting what they present to you and what they give you exposure to. Some are giving more exposure than others. Some get put in places of exposure. In this sense, 50's son has decided to be more public about his uh, discontent about the amount of money he's getting, to have a better understanding. And this is not about celebrity gossip. This is about understanding a dynamic that is prevalent in our community, and we need to understand the prevalence and why it's important. It's not what you think, or at least not from my perspective and my understanding of why we're where we are, why we struggle with so many things, why we're going through the things we're going through. It is not uh watching and paying attention to the gossip about celebrities. They're just simply a microcosm with a microscope, or excuse me, a microcosm with a magnifying glass. You're taking someone who is simply a very small representation of a real problem, and you're putting a magnifying glass on it and then making it look like, okay, there's a lot going on. No, this is happening way too often, and we just don't see it. And the number is probably not 6,700 or 22,000 or whatever it is when you see some of these bigger numbers that these wealthy celebrities have to pay in child support. The issue is so much bigger than child support, but we must look at it first and foremost. So I wanted to kind of have an understanding of what I'm talking about. I hate to get on talking about stuff and not have at least a limited understanding of the dynamics so that it makes sense in what I'm explaining. Okay. I talked about identity yesterday. This is about identity, whether you get it or not. This whole thing with 50 Cent is about identity. Do I believe that men are responsible for financially supporting the progeny they create? Absolutely. I believe that it's important that we are financially supportive, but more important that there's a bigger issue at hand that nobody ever pays attention to, because the money has become such a focus that everything is about money. Men are now being defined by how they move with their money, how much money they have, and what's going on. And there's so much more to manhood than just simply the bag. And because that's all we focus on, everybody's focused on what you're doing with your bag. What you're doing with your bag is going to determine how much they like you. Like a whole bunch of people not liking Kanye right now because how he's doing and what he's doing with his bag. Everybody is focused on the bag. Hey, Cheryl. Long time no see. Everybody's focused on the bag, but nobody's focused on all the other characteristics that involve manhood. I've said this many times before. I believe it was Frederick Douglass that initially said it, that it is much easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men. But what happens when we consistently don't do it on the front end, we deal with it on the back end, and then we see it in many ways and we get frustrated with it. So what I understand, and this is again just from what I've been able to gather, I'm not going to put a whole lot of energy and effort into it because it's just a microcosm. I'm not going to fix that problem. I don't have access to them. If I were given access and they would invite me in, I would help hopefully bring some clarity to what's going on. Here's what's happening, so you understand this. Child support is just the issue, as it is in a bunch of things. Child support has been thrust into our community as a almost linchpin for volatility between primarily male and female, but oftentimes the children get pulled in it too. Now, again, I want to reiterate, my belief I hold is one of the primary principles, the 5 P's of manhood. The second P is provider. The first P is protector, but the second P is provider. So I believe that men should be providers. I believe that men should be able to support the progeny that we create. I believe that we have to do that, but I believe also that we have to understand that support goes beyond what we are able to do financially. And since we put so much gravity and so much weight on finance, you got a bunch of people thinking because I threw my money at it, because I gave you money, it's good. Because I gave you money, it's done. I took care of this. I bought this. I pay for this. You got this every year, blah, blah, blah. The problem is there's a kid over there wondering why he can't see his dad. There's a kid over there wondering why his dad isn't investing energy and time with getting to know who he is and getting to be an influence in what he becomes. Again, a man plays a major role in the socialization and the setting of the identity of his progeny. That's male and female. So what does that mean? That means that the presence of the man establishes a sense of self and identity, self-worth, and is a major contributor and label giver to the self-image of an individual. Now, the self-image is important. Why? Because my self-image is going to dictate how I see myself in the world, what I expect from myself, what I expect to be able to accomplish in the world, how much power I have, or how much I feel powerless. All of that comes from the self-image. My self-esteem and my self-confidence is going to be a reflection of how I see myself in this world, my self-image or my self-concept. So then when the man is present, you have masculine energy in the home, you have feminine energy at home, you have the merging of those energies that create an environment that is conducive for the development of high self-esteem, high self-image, high self-awareness, a sense of self and love, self-love for oneself. And when it's not there, you're seeking it and you're wanting it and you desire, and there will be a natural desire that a child doesn't understand that wants them to be connected to their father. There's a sense of yearning that comes from me wanting to be with my father. As a person who never met his father, I can tell you that there is a lot to overcome when that isn't present. You don't just simply not have a father present and everything is okay. And now people say, man, I did fine without my father. Did you? Can we look at instances in your life and see where you would have done better if your father would have been present and positively present in your life? Because there are some men who are present, but they're erroneously present, meaning that their presence is actually a detriment. And so you've got to understand that there are two ways to harm a kid: through your absence and through your erroneous presence. And so what do we look at when we see 50? This kid isn't asking for $6,700. He's asking for his dad. He's asking for pops. He's asking somebody that's going to come along and say, hey, man, let me show you how to get this paper. Let me show you how to get in the game. Let me put you on. Let me put you down. But more importantly, somebody that's going to be in his ear spitting game to him in whatever way and way he sees life and understands it. He's looking up and he's sitting up saying, I got this pops that's out here. And it doesn't matter if it's 50 Cent or the sanitation worker. That kid is looking at that dude as the representation of manhood, but can't have access to him in a way that makes him feel comfortable that he's going to walk into his manliness in a way that's effective. He's concerned. He's scared. He's worried. He doesn't know. Then there's a part of that kid that's fearing. I'm going to do this to a kid because he did it to me. I'm genetically predisposed to not care about my progeny. And the truth of the matter is, no, you're not. What you've got to understand is there needs to be a proper socialization. There needs to be a connectivity. And if 50 isn't going to fill it in, that some other person needs to step in and help this young brother. Now, I'm not saying that he's 100% right and 50 is 100% wrong or vice versa. What I'm saying is, I think there's a better way to handle it than going public, but people who get frustrated do frustrating things. What I am saying is, do I feel that a lot of our kids today feel entitled? And that's where a lot of us are going to go with this. Some of us are going to understand him because we've been through it and we understand the frustration of absentee fatherhood. But a lot of us are going to look and say, here's another entitled black kid, because we do have a problem with entitlement. We have a problem with kids that think they deserve something for doing nothing. We see it over and over again. No, this is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying just keep funneling the kid money, because that's not helping either. And people saying $600-$700. And what this kid is doing, he's done the math. For the average person, $600-$700 a month for doing nothing. And I say that loosely and probably shouldn't have said it, because being the child of somebody isn't nothing, because it comes with something. It comes with expectations. It comes with yearnings. It comes with desires. It comes with hopes and aspirations, you know. And then if none of those things are ever fulfilled, it comes with heartbreak. So it's not nothing. I didn't ask to be here. You decided to get with my mom, and the two of you created me. And yes, now I've reached adulthood, but how much have you done to prepare me for adulthood? See, we love to talk about, well, you're grown now, but what have I done to prepare you to be able to function in your adulthood, to be able to move in this sense of independence that you're now feeling? Because being 18 doesn't prepare you. Being 21 does not prepare you. Being engaged consistently throughout your childhood in a manner that prepares you for the challenges that you're going to face is what makes you ready to move into adulthood. Another thing that we have to be aware of is we are a group that have been trained to exile our children at 18 and 21, kick them to the curb, tell them you're all now, if you stay here, you're paying rent and you're all. And their counterparts who they're having to compete with, not just for positions in the workforce and in business, but also compete for a position in power, which means they have to develop and sustain a sense of wealth in order to be able to compete as far as power is concerned. See, power makes the choices, power makes the social decisions, but they can't compete without wealth. Wealth is power. We can talk about ballots all you want to, but no, wealth is power, because wealth will transcend the ballot. If you think I'm lying, go to the Midwest and ask them about all of those black DAs that they voted in that comes to find out George Soros, a rich billionaire, actually bankrolled their campaigns to put them in so that he could actually circumvent laws that had been put on the books that he wasn't happy with, and literally controlling public policy by way of DAs that refused to prosecute certain cases. Let me run that by you again. Wealthy people have power because they have means to which to control even that which you think you vote. You voted for people who sit up and put in laws into place to protect you. He goes out, bankrolls the campaign of somebody who is responsible for enforcing those laws. And when they get in, they develop a policy within their office that they're not going to prosecute those particular cases. So the law is on the book, but it's not getting prosecuted, not in that area. Why? Because someone with power decided that they didn't want to abide by that law, or that they were going to set up entities within that particular geographical location, and they didn't want to be impacted by those laws. So again, when you don't prepare your child to go out and be able to develop and sustain wealth, then you create a situation where they're out there trying to figure. Most of our children are going to start not at zero, but negative. Why? Because they are going to buy into the idea that the only way to make themselves valuable within the market is to get a degree. So what they're going to do, they're going to go out and spend tens of thousands and maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars on this piece of paper that they're going to find isn't as valuable as they thought it was. And it's going to put them behind the eight ball. So instead of starting out like little Johnny over there, who's going to have his first home underwritten by grandma, and have an endowment or a trust fund set up for him at some level, or something that to where he's actually getting a head start, they're starting behind the eight ball. They're not even at zero, because they're going to go into debt, hoping that the debt that they're going in through is going to ultimately buy them out of poverty. And only in an impoverished mindset does anyone think debt buys them out of poverty. Debt is the number one contributor to poverty. But again, all of this comes from the engagement of the parents early in life. Identity crisis. See, one identifies with wealth. And the idea of identifying with wealth is the principles that belong to wealth. And it's been inculcated into them. They know who they are. Even in difficult times, they understand the process. Plus, they know the system is designed for them. Well, what happens when the system isn't designed for you? Do you have the same leeway to coast or fall back or do? No, you got to be on your A game. When the system is not designed for you, you have to be on your A game. You've got to be that much better to succeed. You've heard it your whole life, but you're not preparing your kids to do it. See, I heard growing up that your skin color is going to have an impact that's going to make you have to be better than people competing for the same thing that looks like them. But see, I was also at the same time told, don't worry about that. You're capable of being 3 times better. You're gifted, you're creative. Let me show you some things about yourself. Let me integrate you into yourself. Let me show you why you're gifted. Let me show you why you're special. Let me highlight your gifts. We don't look for our kids' gifts. We send them off to school and let the school tell them what they're going to do. Now, this whole 50 cent thing, this isn't just about money. Even if the kid thinks it's about money. No, it's about, I want my dad. But at 26, I can't say that. So now I'm striking out and I'm acting out. But he's a microcosm. He's one of millions that are sitting up there and saying, I want my dad. In some instances, that's never going to happen. Dad is dead. Dad is in prison for life. Dad has given himself to criminality and will never be a positive role model. Dad is addicted to drugs. Dad is an alcoholic, and we can go down the line. Dad is abusive to women. He's not a good role model. So all of these things are things that a lot of the kids are dealing with. So then what do? We're going to have to come together as a community and understand that there are kids out there just like Marquise who need men in their lives that are going to sit up and model proper manhood. Not perfect manhood. That doesn't exist. What I mean? Proper manhood. A man striving to be the best he can be, a protector, a provider, a a promoter of those in his home and those that he oversees and covers. A priest, meaning that he is a direct link between the Most High and his family and those that he sees. A prophet means that he speaks into the life of those that he covers and he is responsible for. We need men who are able to model that. And men, we need to understand that a lot of the kids that we're going to have to model that for will not have come from our loins. They will not be the production of our own seeds, but they are still the responsibility of the community. And if we don't return to community, we will reap the whirlwind of failing to become a unit again. It just blows my mind every time I think about this, and I talk about it a lot in conversation, in lectures, in interviews, and it's this. It totally blows my mind that when J. Edgar Hoover is being interviewed and he's asked, what is the greatest threat to national security? Keep in mind that when he's asked this question, the U.S. is in a Cold War with Russia. We are in great tension with Cuba. They, at a point, had missiles aimed at us. There's all this turbulence in the Middle East. China is starting to stir up waters in making its presence felt. And this man's response to what is the greatest threat to national security in the United States, his response was Black unity. Their greatest fear was us coming together, and their greatest effort has been keeping us divided. We won't support each other. We have found a way to be at odds with one another. We have bought into ideas that keep us at odds. Now, don't get me wrong. We have done some things to one another that we need to fix and reconcile, but we don't have the luxury of falling apart. We don't have the luxury of continuing to move along in the realm of individualism. We don't have the luxury of sitting up and procreating and abandoning our progeny. We don't have that luxury to sit up and think we can continue on as a people on an individual scale when everyone else is operating in enclaves. The Asians have their enclave, the Arabs have their enclave, the Latinos have their enclaves. Europeans have a general enclave, and then they have their own specific Irish and Italian, but they got their enclaves. Everybody's operating in social groups because we are by nature social creatures. And we've been sold a lie of individuality. And we're out there saying it's not my problem. I don't have anything. It got nothing to do with me. I'm living my life. And we have become so damn selfish that we are destroying ourselves. More importantly, we are destroying the future when we don't set our children up to succeed by, number one, setting good examples of what we're supposed to be. Number two, by being a support system that says we're not going to let you go out there and falter on your own. Number three, by not giving them the resources they need to be successful. And yet we're sitting up and saying, look at what they're doing. We created it. It's amazing how we create situations and then we don't want to have anything to do with fixing them. We just want to shake our heads and oh my God, and all of the things that we love to post on stuff that should actually be irreprehensible to us. And we should be sitting up going, what can I do to change it? We're not. This little kid is in 50 Cent is just a microcosm of what's happening across across America with young Black boys, young Black girls that are sitting up and yearning for something that they cannot have, that they absolutely need. And it's our responsibility to fill the gap. 1.5 million men missing doesn't mean you throw in the towel. 1.5 million men missing doesn't mean you sit up and say, it's not my responsibility. Where's the leadership? I love to see us talk about being leaders. No, leaders think outside of themselves. Leaders stretch themselves beyond what's comfortable. Leaders sit up and put themselves out in front and cover those who are behind them. Leaders sit up and say, that's on me, even when they didn't do it, because they know they are the one responsible for leading. You can't be a leader and pointing the finger. You can't be a leader sitting up talking about, look what they are doing. Oh my God. I don't care what they did. If I'm the leader, if I'm the head, if I'm the priest, if I'm the king, it's my dominion and it's happening under my watch. I've got to be responsible for it. Come on, brothers. Am I saying that we give women a pass? Absolutely not. Those are supposed to be our ribs, our side, our support systems. They're supposed to be speaking life and birthing dreams through their spiritual wombs. But hey, that can only happen through an environment in which they feel safe. And yes, there's a bunch of things going on wrong. It's a bunch of brothers getting bammed up by broken women. Let's keep it real. There are a bunch of women getting hulled out by broken men. We can sit up and point the finger all day long. We can sit up and talk about who did what. That's not going to change anything. One thing that my grandfather taught me, as my adopted father, my great-grandfather taught me this. You can whine and complain about what's going on, and you can find a solution. He says, but I'm going to tell you like this. Don't bring your complaints to me without having some idea of a solution. It doesn't even have to be the right solution, but I need to know you put some effort in trying to figure it out, that you're not just whining about it, that you're not just complaining about it, that you're not just blaming someone else for it. Take ownership in it. When you come to me, what you can't figure out, we'll get together and we'll figure out if we need to find somebody else to help, we'll find that too. But what we're not going to do is show up with nothing. It's so much bigger than this kid talking about $6,700. Get the number out of your mind, whether you think it's way too much and he don't deserve it at 26, or whether you think it's way too little based on all the money his father's made over the years. That's irrelevant. The thing is, why isn't there a relationship where they're working this out amongst themselves? There's a responsibility to be present as a man. It doesn't mean, when you're talking about adult kids, being forcefully present, pushing your way into their spaces. But what it means is they need to know if they pick up that phone, you'll be at the other end of it. You know, my kids range from 37 down, and there's not one that can't pick up the phone and call me. Now, they get in their little ways where they don't want to listen, or they got issues with something that I tell them, and they get funny with me for a minute. Do your thing. I'm going to be here. I ain't ever going to turn. You're going to respect me in how you deal with me, but I'm never going to sit up and say, I'm tired of you, whatever. I'm riding with you till the wheels fall off, kid. I want you to win. But I need you to take the reins. I got to see you doing something. And the thing is, they've never seen me throw in the towel, so they won't ever do that. They never see me whine and complain, so they know they can't come with that. I set the paradigm by which they're going to engage life, and it's going to be just like my life. Sometimes you're up on a cloud, you're riding. Sometimes you look up and you're skidding and scraping yourself on the pavement. But whatever you know, you wake up, you get up, you stand up, you move, you do what you got to do to come out. But you got to instill it in them. You wonder why these kids killing, because they're emotionally unstable. They didn't get what they needed to develop emotional strength, emotional stability, and move into emotional maturity and emotional intelligence. They don't. They're literally raw emotions moving about and just becoming more capable of being violent. And that's who we're trusting our daughters with. And our daughters are trying to find themselves on Instagram and TikTok. They're trying to find themselves in the value of the body. We've got them both. We got the boys chasing the bag because that's what the girls want. We got the girls chasing the body because that's what the guys with the bag want. And everybody's chasing the body and the bag. Nobody's building nothing. Everybody's chasing an illusion, the American dream, while very few are actually living it, because everybody's fulfilling their dreams instead of building something. Instead of having something solid, instead of being someone that somebody can depend on. I'm going to chase it. Everybody wants to inherit what they want instead of building it. And it's going to be up to create and teach a different mindset, because you're not going to get it by inheriting it. We don't have it to inherit. You're going to have to build it. You're going to have to learn how to love one another, because we haven't experienced a lot of that. Most of us are loving from trauma that was passed down generationally, from generation to generation, and we're loving out of trauma, and we're harming and hurting everybody, and everybody's mad about everything. Everybody's bitter about everything. We don't understand. Nobody is talked about healing. I mean, it's so important to understand what's guiding the movement of your frustration. They keep us divided, and they keep us in the dark. And all that leads to is a lot of hostility and blind rage. And it's time that we change. It's time that we become very precise in our understanding of what we're dealing with, so that we can develop a capacity, a strategy, an agenda, and protocols to overcome it. It's going to take systematic aggression towards something worth having in order to get it. It's not going to be something because I feel like it. It's going to happen. It's not going to be something because I will it. It's going to happen. It's going to be something where we decide enough is enough, and we start to move in a way that literally changes things. It's that simple. My prayer goes out to the family. My hope is that this father and son reconcile, but my greater hope is that we as a nation reconcile. We as a Black nation come together and reconcile. There's so much pain, there's so much hurt, there's so much brokenness, and then we're going into situation and relationships, and we're breaking each other again, and we're having children in the process. We're breaking homes, breaking families, breaking lives, and we don't have a way to stop it, because we won't take time to invest in healing ourselves, in growing ourselves, in building and developing ourselves, in strengthening our emotional wherewithal so that we can withstand the things that are just going to be a part of life. I told you, when I started researching African-American adolescent and young adult male violence 20 plus years ago, and I came to an understanding, I said, we got a problem. We're the only group with no rite of passage. Our young boys have no systematic way of knowing what a man is, much less a path paved for them to become one. So I created it, Black Men Lead. What I can tell you is it works, but it's a lot of work, because the way you teach is through modeling more than anything. You can create all the curriculums in the world, but they're going to look at who you are. I know what you're telling me to do, Doc, but I need to see how you're behaving with your wife. I need to see how you're behaving with your wife when things are good. I need to see how you're behaving with your wife when things are bad. I need to see how you're behaving with your wife when this goes on, when money gets fun. I need to see how you're handling everything, because that's what I'm going to look at and say, man, okay, when he did this happened. This is, but if he sees me get volatile with my woman because I'm dissatisfied with something she did, he will believe that's the behavior of a man. If he sees me never be there for my for my wife, then he's figured, hey, just show up when you feel like it. If he sees me never be there for my children, say, man, all I got to do is create them. Let them and their mama figure it out. I'm going to look out for me. But if he sees me committed, if he sees me moving through it, if he sees me have a stable emotional balance, that even in the most difficult and challenging times, I know how to handle the people I love, it starts to stabilize him. We have to do better. I could talk about this for so long because I'm so passionate about it. Identity crisis is just one chapter in this book. If you want to get the book is in the description box. It's always been in there. But I'm going to be talking about different topics in this book, probably through the end of the year, just looking at where we at, revisiting how I felt when I wrote that chapter uh, revisiting how I felt when I did the research that led to that chapter. And you got to understand the hours and the hours and the hours it takes to develop an understanding, to develop an understanding that allows you to understand what you're learning when you're doing that research. This is a long path for me. It's something I'm deeply rooted in, something I'm committed to. And I'm really, 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 truly at a point where I'm hoping we get it. So, yet, what's going on with that kid in 50 is a microcosm of a much bigger issue that we need to get a hold of. On that note, look, I'm going to get out of here. As I said at the beginning of this video, we need your support. If you believe in the work I'm doing with the Odyssey Project, from everything from the research arm from the think tank that we've created, the gathering of minds to solve problems, to the programs like Black Men Lead, the work we do in the community with young women, domestic violence, intimate partner homicide, depression, mental health on the back end. All of that stuff needs support. I'm going to keep coming to you guys. I'm going to try to give you stuff that really, really, truly gives you an understanding and clarity. So if I come and I'm talking about a hot topic, it's not the gossip I'm here for. I'm here for an understanding of a bigger issue. The gossip takes care of itself and it produces nothing. It has no intrinsic value whatsoever. But understanding behavior can help you understand how to deal with it, how to move in it, how to change it. And that's my goal, to create a behavior that is conducive for the power we say we want. On that note, I'm out of here. You guys have an unbelievable day. I don't know if Cheryl is still on here, but Cheryl, it was good seeing you. It's always good to see somebody that's been positive throughout, and you take care. As for everyone else, thanks for stopping in, and I'll see you guys soon.